Hey guys, how's it going? It's your boy M.K.S here, back here with the fourth and final part of my wish list and shopping list, and shopping list for Inter Milan for Christmas. My dreams for Inter Milan for Christmas. I hope you enjoy it, and if you haven't already, I hope you'll check out parts 1, 2, and 3, and some of my other videos. For those watching on Facebook, you won't see this because it's not Facebook, as far as I'm aware, doesn't have thumbnails. What do they call them? Thumbnails, by the way. I wonder. But anyway, on YouTube, for those watching on YouTube, hopefully you would have recognised I use this mug for my thumbnail, and this is a mug. I was wary of spilling it because I'm very clumsy, but it says Miami Beach, and it's a present I got from Miami. So it's quite a big mug, as you can probably see as well. For someone who drinks so much tea, as you can probably tell from other videos. It's probably ideal for me, but it's quite a nice souvenir. So my cousins from Miami got me that, and my 3 kittens, they keep running away from running. Like one keeps running out of the house, and the others run away, like run out of the room and stuff like that, not realizing how much danger they put themselves into. So that was a bit of a nightmare. I'd spend like 10 or 15 minutes trying to get the cat back. Thankfully, rather, unfortunately, my brother managed to get him back without him being injured, which I worry about, like if he's going to get run over or stuff like that. The kitten, that is, not my brother, or both. Anyway, sorry, getting on to the topic at hand, I'll try not to waffle, as I always say, and I think that covers everything for the intro. So these are ideas number 31 to 40. Just want to say a nice little life story, as I normally say, about the kitten running away. And thankfully we got him back, so he's not injured. But I do worry if he keeps escaping, it might not always be that lucky. But I think it's like people have got to open and close the door really quickly so he doesn't get out. But if there are any animal lovers, please let me know in the comment section. I myself am a vegetarian because I love all living things and all that. That was a bit corny. Anyway, on to the topic. So number 31, I dream that Inter Milan, and possibly even their arch rivals, which I'm sure I talked about last week, A.S.A.P, even though they're rivals, I dream for them both to work on making the world a better place. And that's quite corny of me, but to work on like mental health awareness, neurodiversity awareness, sport for people with disabilities and disadvantages, and things like that. So I think that would be pretty cool. I often find it quite. I think when I was younger, I used to find it quite ironic that people with physical disabilities love football sometimes, but obviously, even though they can't play, they can still watch and listen to it and be part of it. It's part of camaraderie and things like this. They might have ideas, tactics on those sorts of things. But yeah, those who can play football and are lucky enough to be able to play football, fundraising for those who can't, I think would be pretty good. So I think it'd be cool if they had lots of fundraising games, just like Celtic have, to fundraise for charity and things like that. I think that covers everything for point number 31. 32, as I often mention, I know I'm very repetitive, but I'd love for Italian teams to have the best possible players, coaches, managers, scouts, and general staff, whatever makes a great football team. And I think I forgot to say in part 3, pretty sure I forgot to say, funny enough, rather ironically perhaps, Ange Postecoglou, who was manager of Celtic, I'd love for him to manage in Serie A, possibly Inter sometime, A.S.A.P, preferably before he gets too old, and before his ideas become stale, because he could bring that attacking style of football. People like him and Pep could bring that attacking style of football. But I wonder what people think about whether people like Ange Postecoglou, Pep Guardiola, or Thomas Tuchel, Klopp, Jurgen Klopp, or people like that, how you think they would do in Serie A. And the ones who are more attacking, you think they could bring that attacking type of football and change the culture in Italian football to become more attacking? I'd love to know what fans of football generally think about that, especially fans of Italian football. So I think it'd be interesting. I'd love to know what fans think, what type of managers, coaches, and players, and even scouts and whoever else involved in football, directors of football or whatnot, I'd love to know a list of the top ones, top scouts, the top coaches, managers, players, directors of football and whatnot, and who basically, if they came to Serie A, could change Serie A and turn them into the top class league, hopefully, preferably as soon as possible. And especially in the case of players, before they get too old, but even managers can get too old and stale or whatnot. Incidentally, I nearly forgot to say this, but I've just remembered. One of my mates, Steve, says that I look. He calls me Pep Guardiola, or used to call me Pep Guardiola. I think that's taking a lick at me because I'm balding. Obviously, Guardiola is bald, and he's about 11 years older than me. I suppose it's not a huge amount, but I think when he's taking a look at me. But if I had his tactical genius in terms of managing and that kind of thing, I think that'd be pretty cool. Apparently, the difference between a manager and a coach, I think, is a manager sort of picks the team and goes through the tactics during the game, but a coach sort of trains and develops players. So I think people mix those two up, but I think that is the difference between them, if I'm not mistaken. Anyone knows better can let me know, as ever, in the comments. As with all my ideas. Number 33. I lost my train of thought now. There was something I was going to say, but I've completely forgotten. Awkward moment again. I completely forgot my train of thought. And my brain sometimes switches off. I was thinking, before I made this video, I was thinking I'm going to try and get myself to not be too panicky and try and relax and enjoy it and that kind of thing. It is supposed to be a bit of fun. I'll say first world problems and that kind of thing, which I was going to say about my story about the kitten running away, but I remembered it and now I've forgotten it. That was the point I was going to make. Sorry. I was thinking, when people talk about football and they brag about their team going to win and things like that, I think it's always better to do the performing on the pitch. And so I don't really like to make predictions, because I think it's how the team turns up, when they put the effort in, when they work together as a team, they gel as a team and things like that. So sometimes, obviously, the so-called underdog can win. So I think in Western countries, the underdog is like a positive term, but in Eastern countries, it probably wouldn't be. But I'm not sure that. But anyway, I was thinking, what if Inter Milan could win the treble again? That was the point I was going to make. But I wouldn't want to say before the season's really, I know it's started, but it's not really got into full flow yet. So I wouldn't want to say Inter Milan are going to win the treble for sure, or anything like that. But I was thinking, what if they could win the treble? And again, I know fans have a bit of bravado, but sometimes they say we're going to win this and that kind of thing, and then you can be left with egg on your face, as they say. In other words, being embarrassed, like I was when I forgot my train of thought. I don't know if you could tell I was going red or whatever, but I was feeling red inside. But anyway, or embarrassed or whatever. But yeah, so I suppose it wouldn't give you much to talk about if you're not going to predict the score. I often say, like, what my heart says and what my head says. So what my head says is more sensible and also a bit more pessimistic, and that kind of thing. Whereas my heart says we're gonna win. So I sort of think of all sorts of scenarios. It depends how you perform when you get onto the pitch, whether you work as a team, whether you have the fitness, and things like that, and whatever else you might have that can help you to win games. Number 34, I was thinking, what if fans of Inter Milan, in this case, sort of wrote to investors, potential investors and sponsors themselves. Maybe even fans could write lead-headed letters together as a fan club, or fan clubs coming together as one, to sort of say, to encourage investors and sponsors to put money into Inter Milan and talk about what the club means to them and why it would be such a good thing to invest in the club and how it would be good for a company's PR, for instance, and things like that. And maybe making videos like this more coherently than me, perhaps, which wouldn't be saying much, but trying to put together presentations on YouTube or whatnot, or on Facebook, or both, trying to get investors and sponsors to invest in Inter Milan. Number 35, again, I suppose, I guess the main summary really, I know I do for a lot, and I like to come up with these 40-point list videos, and things like that, and I like to think of lists of 40 generally for some reason. I think just in case I forget, I miss out on any ideas, but if I was going to sum it up, really my dreams would be, to put simply, and again summarize it, i.e. to make it shorter, of course, and get to the point hopefully. I would love for Inter Milan to have as much investment as possible around Christmas, possibly on Christmas Day itself or around that time, and possibly continual investment from Christmas, possibly Christmas Day, because that's on Monday, so like Milan Mondays, and to then buy the best possible players, possibly bring in the best possible coaching staff, managers, and things like that from January, if not December. I suppose the players would be in January because it's a January transfer window. So to develop the team and hopefully to win trophies in Europe and internationally, from my point of view, as a fan of Italian football. But as ever, I would love to read from and hear from Inter Milan fans. As someone who's a fan of Italian football generally and wants the Italian teams to do well, and as I often say, who loves Italian teams equally, I have a different take to someone who specifically supports Inter Milan and probably might hate or certainly strongly dislike AC Milan, Juventus, and the other teams. But I'd love to see Italian football teams develop generally, which brings me on to point number 36. I'll say I'd love to see Italian teams benefit generally at club and country level, and with investment for all possible Serie A teams, and even grassroots levels and things like that, and lower league levels, all levels of Italian football, from schools, parks, grassroots, smaller league teams, non-pro teams, all the way up to lower league teams, and then up to Serie A and even the national team, to develop, to bring in the most possible investment, spaces and places for sports, soccer, football, and that kind of thing, whatever you want to call it. And also, again, I know I mentioned this point before, but as ever, but Inter Milan and other Italian teams to develop young, preferably mainly Italian players, as well as some from overseas as well, and basically having academies overseas as well. But I'd love for them to have academies in Milan and all over Italy, especially as well, so they can develop football, especially in Milan. And even though they're rivals, perhaps Inter and AC could work together on developing football in Milan. And sometimes put their rivalries aside to fundraise for good causes, which I was going to say in point number 31, but I forgot. Number 37. Again, I know I mention these points a lot and repeat them, but so I remind myself and others of my future plans for the next 5 to 10 years or whatever, or the future just generally. I would love for Inter Milan and other Italian teams to have a partnership with Celtic, A.S.A.P, preferably around Christmas. I think I jumped ahead of myself there. From Christmas onwards, perhaps, or around, as December, as they is the month of Christmas, and into the new year, and in the future generally. Hopefully that partnership will continue forever, so to speak, or till the end of the world or whatever. Number 38. Again, Inter and AC Milan could put their rivalries aside to develop football in Italy, and also to work on worthy, good causes and that kind of thing, like football for good, and talk about, like, even though they're rivals, as I say, they could put that rivalry aside as long as it benefits. So hopefully Inter Milan fans love Inter more than they dislike or even hate AC Milan, and even Juventus. Hopefully they love their club more than they dislike the opposition. So hopefully it will be an incentive for them to develop their club, even if it means their rivals also develop, even like they develop together. But I suppose I have a unique slant or unique take, because I have a unique eye or mind or brain, as you can probably tell. And in this regard, because I love Italian teams generally. Number 39. As I say, it's probably a pipe dream, but as it's Christmas, as I say, I would love to develop like things like the Dyslexic Billionaires Network and and Neurodiverse Billionaires Network. And I think it'd be interesting to see if they invested in Inter Milan and other Italian teams and Celtic to showcase what neurodiverse people can achieve and that kind of thing. And number 40, knowing me, I've probably forgotten some points, but in the future, I would love to go to Milan. I was going to say go to Inter Milan. Well, go to Milan and work with AC Milan and Inter Milan, and just travel around Italy as well, and help to develop the beautiful game further in Milan and across Italy. And I remember a point I was going to say in number 31, which is I dream that they will have good causes, not just for Milan or even the rest of Italy, but also for the rest of the world, especially developing nations and possibly former colonies as well. And those nations that invest in them, if they do, like Malaysia, hopefully India, Indonesia, and places like that, Invest Corp and whatnot, or even Saudi Arabia, if the PIF invests in Interman and I'm out. Isn't that